As reptile keepers, all of us have spent money on stuff we don't actually need. So today, let's go over the top 5 reptile items that are actually worth your money. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles, stick around. No matter what hobby it is, there's a bunch of generic items that you just slap on the title of whatever hobby it is, and all of a sudden it's worth way more money. For example, selling coconut core under a label that's for reptiles makes it $20 more expensive for whatever reason, and if you want me to do a video on hacks and how to get things cheaper, I will, but today's video is all about things that are actually made for reptiles that are actually worth your money and don't have a better equivalent that isn't reptile branded. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies or have affiliate links for any of these companies for the things that I'm about to talk about, so, I mean, it's not biased. These are things that I actually use, and let's just start off. Number 5, Mercury vapor bulbs. Mercury vapor bulbs, and it doesn't really matter which brand you use. I mean, there's pros and cons, but again, I'm not sponsored or have an affiliate link, so this is the one that I picked up the other day for the turtles that I have. And I use them for turtles because I do think that these are better for certain species. For example, turtles will only really get UVB while they're out of the water basking, because once they're under a few feet of water or a few inches of water even, the UVB that you would use in a strip doesn't really permeate very well. So the only time they're really soaking up UVB is while they're basking, and that's underneath that basking lamp. And that is the same reason why I think Mercury vapor bulbs are better in a lot of cases for certain animals, such as things like bearded dragons. I'm putting one in his enclosure tomorrow. Uromastyx, savanna monitors, things that need high UVB and also need a basking spot with high temperatures. Something that's going to spend a lot of time directly under that basking bulb is going to benefit from a basking bulb that also generates UVB, which is what a Mercury vapor bulb is. It generates heat, it's a basking bulb, and it's a UVB bulb all in one. Now, obviously for bearded dragons, Uromastyx, I always recommend having a tubular bulb for most of the enclosure as well. But the reason I think that Mercury vapor bulbs are actually better than using just a regular basking bulb is just because they're going to spend most of their time under there. So sure, they're going to be getting UVB from the strip light, but they're directly under that basking light. So doesn't it make sense to have that basking light also use UVB or also have UVB coming out of it? Basically, it makes more sense because it's more direct. Big disclaimer, before you go out and just buy a bunch of Mercury vapor bulbs, make sure you know how to use them properly, because they don't really work on thermostats or dimmers, so you're going to have to set it at the right height, the exact right height, which is going to take some tinkering on your part, and that is your responsibility to do. And of course, because UVB, it depends on the height, and the heat depends on the height, like I said, tinkering involved, and of course, if you try to use it on a thermostat or on a dimmer, you are creating a fire hazard.
Does anyone smell anything smoky?
They don't really work like that. So they're not the be-all end-all. There is some cons to them. I just think for certain species, they're better than the alternatives. And like regular tubular UVB bulbs, you still need to change them out periodically and just get yourself a tester for UVB in order to figure this out, or replace them on regular intervals every 6 months or a year, depending on what the manufacturer suggests. Of course, some brands will last longer than others, but I always recommend just testing it yourself. Number 4. THG Heat Tape. Now, it doesn't have to be THG, and in fact, as I look at this, I'm pretty sure this isn't even the branded one. It doesn't really matter. A heat tape that is made usually for pipes under a house, like in a crawl space, to keep them warm so they don't freeze, but these are kind of branded for reptiles. THG is the company that I normally buy. You can buy them on Reptile Basics, or if you're in Canada, Cornell's World, Dino Reptiles, whatever. That's where I buy mine from. And the reason I buy this stuff is because it's so useful. You can buy it in a bunch of different widths. So you can buy it in 4-inch, 3-inch, 11-inch. A bunch of my PVC enclosures that you've seen, I use this tape for them. For the home-built racks that I made, I use this. For the rack that I just bought that was commercially made, THG Heat Tape is how you heat the bottom of the enclosure or the back of the enclosure. You can even make your very own at-home heat mats in order to do that. I would recommend learning how to wire them correctly, which I can make a video about if you want, but like, I don't just go out and blindly buy a bunch of wire and heat tape and there's a bunch of videos and it's just basic wiring. Just don't cross your wires, basically. And to do it, this isn't a how-to guide, but simply there's little conductors on the side, I guess you'd call them, and you can either solder through the plastic and solder on wires. You can just use extension cord that you buy at the dollar store, an old extension cord, whatever, or you can use these little I don't even know what they're called, amp connectors. I've talked about them in other videos as well. The big thing here, the big takeaway, is if you don't want to buy expensive heat mats and you just want to make your own, you can for very cheap with THG Heat Tape. Big disclaimer again, don't burn your house down. Learn what you're doing before you wire it, or consult an electrician to help you. It's a DIY thing, but don't just go blindly into it. I'm telling you this, big takeaway here, don't burn your freaking house down. Or your parents' house, that'd be worse.
Oh, we ain't gonna be in no fire, not today.
And the reason I like this stuff, it's just cheaper than the heat mats that you buy, which basically perform the exact same function, and heat rocks are garbage. So if you want me to make a video about top 5 things do not spend your money on, heat rocks will be on there, but if you want to see what the other 4 are, hit the like button and I'll make that video too. Safe, easy, cheap. THG Heat Tape. Number 3. Geckoopia 3-in-1 dish. Now, I am not sponsored by this company. I have no affiliation with this company. They did reach out and ask me if I wanted one, and they didn't even expect me to do a review. So I have been using this one with my geckos for the last few days. So basically it comes in a box and just is simple parts. So it's very simple to set up, and I actually really like the function of it, especially if you've only got a few geckos, because, I mean, they aren't the cheapest thing in the world, and there are things that perform just as well for a lot cheaper. But my reasoning for advertising, well, not advertising, but advocating for this product is just because it looks nicer than plastic dishes in your enclosure, and they come in a bunch of different colors. You can get this kind of cool marbly one, or you can get a black one, yellow, whatever you want. So just in my opinion, they look a little bit better as I'm clamping this together and probably ruining the audio, but either way, the entire idea of it is it's 3 parts. So you've got your food dish, you've got your calcium bowl, which a lot of people don't even use, but just throw a little bit of calcium in there and they'll lick it if they think they need it. And then there's a water dish as well with a cover on it, which, I mean, I don't really use. I actually use this to scrape the poop if they poop on stuff in their enclosure. But either way, it looks kind of cool, and it is a little bit nicer just to pick up and throw it in the dishwasher. It's dishwasher safe, and these things are made of biodegradable plastics, of plastic that isn't from petroleum, basically. So if you're an environmentally friendly person who doesn't want to be throwing out deli cups all the time, or those single-use type of plastic containers, and you don't like the look of things that you'd buy at the pet store, which are going to function half or a third of the task of this and cost the same. If you go to a Petco or PetSmart and you want to buy some nice looking bowls, 3 of them, well, first of all, there's 3 of them for you to collect and throw in the dishwasher or wipe out by hand, where this you just pick up out of your gecko enclosure. Super simple, super easy, but it's also going to be more expensive to buy 3 branded ones from a pet store. You can even put your grub terra in there, your black soldier fly larva, 10% discount code below. I really do think that they're worth it if you don't like the look of clay bowls, if you don't want to be throwing out single-use containers. These guys are awesome. It's shipped super quick. The packaging is awesome. It's nothing to break. It's kind of idiot-proof. It doesn't even come with instructions because it literally snaps together. There's 3 parts and you know where they go. It's very intuitive. And their motto, "Start with us from the gecko," is hilarious. So Geckoopia, I think you knocked it out of the park with this thing. Not the cheapest thing on the list, and there are cheaper ways to do it, but environmentally friendly, looks really cool, and super simple to use. Why did I do this? It's weird. Number 2, not a physical piece of anything that I can show you in my hands. I'll have to show you this. This is Husbandry Pro. It's an app, and also you can use it on desktop, which I really like. And this is something that I don't have any affiliation with at all. It's something that I was very skeptical of. Basically what it is it's a program that allows you to track in detail your whole collection. And it starts off from free, and you can have a $5 account for a certain amount of animals all the way up to their top tier. But either way, I think if you are a breeder, this is a no-brainer for you. You can track things like sheds and poops if you want to, or you can just go ahead and you can make QR codes, so you just scan with your phone to show you're putting this male in with this female, or you fed this one, or this one's his shed. It's crazy the way that this tracks, and way easier than a spreadsheet like I showed you last week, how I track my expenses. It'll even inventory your feeders for you. I think this app is highly underrated. I know that Billy at Mutation Creation just bought into it. I have no affiliation with although it's a Canadian thing, which I think is pretty awesome. I just think it's awesome. I think it's amazing. I've been using it for a little while. It's kind of a pain and time consuming to put all your animals in there to start, but that's the same with making a spreadsheet. It's no different. And it's also very detailed. And once you get all your animals in there, it is easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is freaking awesome, especially if you've got several animals and you want to keep very detailed records and you don't want it to become a second job doing paperwork or fiddling around on apps. This just makes it super simple. I think it's definitely worth your time. It's very cheap for what it is. There's other softwares for other hobbies that are like this that are way more expensive. So this is something just to consider. And if nothing else, you can get the free trial and put in a bunch of your animals and see how you like it and upgrade from there. Number 1, most useful reptile branded enclosure that is absolutely worth your money, PVC Enclosures. Now, I talk about PVC Enclosures all the time. I know you're thinking, well, this guy is about to get into the part where he's affiliated with cages and he wants you to, well, yes, I do think that cages makes the best PVC enclosures, but if you don't want to buy that brand, or you live in a place where shipping is difficult, or you have the option to buy one off Craigslist or Kijiji that's a different brand, PVC Enclosures, regardless of the brand, well, not regardless, there are some crap companies, but most of them are absolutely amazing. I have a whole wall of these enclosures, basically. I've made a corner out of them. I think they're amazing. And I think that because they're stackable, they're very light a lot of the time. My cages one, I think, is about 50 pounds, so easy for me to use by myself. I can just kind of haul it around. And you can put lights inside of it, which is awesome. I really like that. It has a lip for the lid. It's awesome. That's the best variety in my opinion. But if you wanted to buy a cheaper company brand, like these ones here, I'm not sure the brand, they're all different brands, but they're these black kind of generic, everybody's seen these type of PVC enclosures. They're awesome too. Throw up a radiant heat panel up in there to warm it up, or use heat tape on the bottom. You can't really mount lights into them, probably not the safest because it's a very thin type of PVC, but they're 22 pounds. So you can haul them around easy, no problem. They hold in humidity really well, although you can get very well vented type of PVCs like I use for Diamond here, so it just depends on the company. Of course, if you buy one secondhand, it's easy to clean because it's a non-porous type of material, and the lighting options are endless for these enclosures. I just think that no matter what, PVC is better than a glass enclosure almost all the time in my experience. Of all the enclosures I use, I try to make basically everything a PVC enclosure just because it holds humidity well, it's non-porous, it's super easy to clean, it's very easy to heat. The lighting options are super duper easy as well. I did a whole video about how to set them up right here if you want to watch. And I just feel like you can find them everywhere for really good prices, or you can buy really high-end ones at maybe not the cheapest prices, but definitely worth it, and they're long-lasting as well. I have melamine enclosures that I made myself. They just don't last the test of time. I made these ones 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, this month. And one of them I had to get rid of already, and these two are on their way out. I'm going to be replacing them with PVCs for sure. And PVCs are super secure. I've never had a snake escape a PVC enclosure. I just think that they are kind of the cat's meow when it comes to these type of enclosures. So there you go, top 5 Reptile branded products that are actually worth your money. What do you think? Do you agree with this list? Is there something else that I should have put on there? Let me know in the comment section below. I got the idea from there as well, so what do you want to see next week? I take all the ideas out of that comment section. And as always, a special thank you to the Patreon supporters. You guys are freaking awesome. I really appreciate all the support that you give. You get to see videos early, discounts on the merch, you know about reptiles in my collection that I don't ever talk about on this channel, and Patron of the Week. A special thank you to Cecilia Kaplinger. Actually, as of my birthday last year is when you joined. So it's been almost a year. I really appreciate it. And for all of you who watch these videos and take the time to smash the like button and leave a comment, it costs you nothing and it helps this channel tremendously. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. And that means that I'll see you on Thursday.